We will uncover some myths of the pyramid of needs and additionally understand what Abraham Maslow said about your development. There are 3 points today I want to talk with you about which will deepen your knowledge beyond your current scope. Most of you know the basic pyramid of needs. There are 5 levels and they're basically motivational levels. You start at the very bottom, the physical needs, and when you satisfy them, then you will reach the next level, safety, and so on until you satisfy all the needs until you reach self-actualization. Well, Abraham Maslow himself actually added a 6th stage here, but we will talk about this in a second. The first point I want to talk about is that it's not an all or nothing principle. You don't need to fulfill, for example, the physical needs 100% and only then you can strive for the next level. That's not true. Maybe it's only fulfilled for 80%, you can still strive for safety. There is a trend that, for example, if the lowest need is fulfilled for about 80%, that then the next need will not be satisfied for more than 80%. Usually then goes down, goes down, goes down. But of course, there are also a lot of exceptions. For example, you don't need to have the physical and safety needs fully satisfied. You can still strive for a lot of self-actualization and have those kind of symptoms. In fact, Abraham Maslow talked also with a lot of homeless people who really showed a lot of symptoms of being a self-actualized human being, even though they did not fulfill their physical needs or their safety needs or maybe all of the other needs. You don't need that. In general, there are tons of exceptions, people with psychosis or people who have deprivation in some sort of need for a long period of time or during their childhood, but that now goes beyond the scope here. But in general, Abraham Maslow talks a lot about mental health and that self-actualized human beings are actually very healthy human beings, mentally very healthy human beings, and then you can become very creative, you create things, you use your potential at an optimal level. The second point is about self-actualization, and this basically means that you understand your inner self, who you are, what is your genetics, and then live this up, be your best self. And that doesn't mean that you make a lot of money or you're super productive. If you're a good observer, you observe all the time. So it's not about physical materialistic success, just be who you are, and that's being this fully. And there's a trend that self-actualized people, they value a set of values, for example, truth, justice, simplicity, beauty, and a lot of other values. This comes with also being self-actualized. It is not a goal you reach, it's also not an all or nothing principle, but it's a degree thing. It's not that you say, okay, it's 4:34 on Thursday, that's the point when I got self-actualized. This is not going to happen. It's step by step, a degree. A lot of things you can do, get to know yourself, make the right decisions, invest in the right things. But this is actually another video we were going to talk about actual practical steps about how to get self-actualized to get to that level. And the third point, I think it's most interesting for me personally, what I learned recently is that Abraham Maslow wrote an article. In this article he states that there's actually another level beyond self-actualization, which is self-transcendence. And this is not about just becoming your best self. It's about letting go of your ego. Everything becomes important, but also unimportant. You realize everything is connected. You do something that is bigger than just about yourself. And you also work out a lot of polarizations. For example, you realize when you're fully egoistic, that's actually when you're fully selfless. So in general, you work out a lot of those polarizations, which might seem as a paradox in the very beginning, but now you can work them out and put them all together. And in general, this shows a lot of signs of enlightenment, self-transcendence. That's basically sounds like enlightenment from the Buddhism. And those are 2 different approaches now. From Asia, the Buddhistic approaches, sit down, meditate, let go of your needs and you will become enlightened. And the Western approach, Abraham Maslow, is about work within this life, fulfill those desires, and then you will reach self-transcendence. 2 different approaches, but they are also fitting at some point. When we think about the homeless guy, Abraham Maslow said there are those excuses. Maybe he let go of those very basic needs and that's why he could actually yield for self-actualization. So it's really fitting. Also the life efficiency equilibrium from Straight Mind, this is what Straight Mind is all about, fits very well to the approach of Abraham Maslow. Because the life efficiency equilibrium, this is just the very much working model, what you can do to actually develop yourself, but also gain this perspective wisdom, not only from Western society, also Asia, gain this perspective wisdom and really realize what is the truth here, what we can actually do. We don't need to fulfill every desire. Can we let go of it and understand reality more as it is? So those are the three basic principles that I want to tell you that goes beyond the very basic knowledge about the pyramid of needs, which just gives you a little bit more input to think about and what that means for you.
You want it, and you're going to go all out to have it. It's not going to be easy. When you want to change, it's not easy. If it were in fact easy, everybody would do it. But if you're serious, you'll go all out. I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me.